Hi there folks, my name is Matthew, welcome back to the channel. I am very excited because this is the very first episode of a brand new series that I'm starting called Why Art. In this series, each episode, I'm going to be looking at an individual or group of artists of varying different mediums, whether they be painters or sculptors or game devs perhaps, and basically looking into both the technical side of how they do what they do, what their process looks like, that kind of thing, but also why they do what they do. What are their inspirations? What drives them? And in particular, what draws them to art as a passion? This first episode, I am very excited to be introducing to you Ben Cohen. He is a lovely guy. He's a technical artist, he's a producer, he's a game dev and a 3D artist, and he most recently released, along with his team, a brand new game called Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter. It's an absolute romp, it's a fun ride.
Oh God, I have heart palpitations.
So check it in the description down below. And keep on watching so we can hear from him a little bit about his inspirations for that game, as well as more broadly asking the question, why art? Welcome, Ben. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to this is the first episode of Why Art, and I'm very excited to have you. This guest is Ben Cohen. He's are you okay with Ben?
Yeah, Ben's fine.
Ben's fine? Okay, awesome. You are a technical artist, you're a producer, you're a game dev. Is there anything that I'm missing on that list, would you say?
No, you're hitting all the points. Yeah, I have a leg in all sorts of areas of production on games and stuff, and I also run a studio by myself. So yeah, happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
I'd like to start a little bit at the beginning, because I think that we all kind of have some kind of an initial memory of our exposure to the thing that we eventually go into. What would you say some of the earliest memories that you've had, specifically when it comes to video games, that you could remember? Is there anything in particular that sticks out?
Oh yeah, I mean, I started with games. I got a Wii when I was pretty young, with the Wiimotes and all that motion controls, and I just fell in love with games from there. I kept bugging my parents. I got a DS, so you got to use their old Game Boys. I got my hands on as much hardware as I could, and eventually I kind of took the leap onto a PC and played a lot of PC games, and still big into shooters and all those sorts of multiplayer stuff like that. But yeah, just ever since I was a kid, it was like Nintendo, and then kind of branched out from there.
Yeah, I think that's a very relatable starting place, I think, for a lot of people. Those Wii, whatever, Wii Sports Resort and those kinds of things are just, those are the formational memories for sure. Obviously, between that time and now, there was a moment, or at the very least a process, where you decided, hey, this is important enough to me that this is something that I would want to do for a career.
Yeah.
Could you take me through what that process was like for you to make that decision?
So games is just kind of one side of my passions. I love video games. I love them so much. But I've always had a really vested interest in CG and just animated films and all of that since I was a kid, going back further than games. And even more so than that, theme parks. I love them. I used to go to Disney all the time as a kid. And when I was a kid, I was talking to my dad. I'm like, who makes all this stuff? Who makes all these rides and all these things? And he said Imagineers do. And I was like, what's that? And it kind of set me on a path into being oh, this is a real creative thing that I could end up doing in a creative industry. And it kind of just set my imagination on fire. I've been sketching parks and characters from Disney and all that stuff for as long back as I could remember. And I decided in high school, I was like, I want to do something with 3D and CG. I think that's really kind of my niche. I started to get into Blender tutorials and really simple stuff in 3D back in high school. And I thought, yeah, this could be a career. So I decided to take the leap, just strictly into games. But it's been a pretty kind of wild journey from there, because games have so many options and doors that open to so many other industries, like animated movies and healthcare apps, and there's just so many applications that game has across the board. And I thought it was just a great multimedia way to get into the broader creative industry.
So you definitely, especially from kind of a visual development standpoint, you've been throughout almost your entire life doing, creating the visuals of different characters and things like that. When it comes to your first attempts making a game of your own, would you be able to tell me a little bit about what that was like?
Sure. In one word, disaster. Games are very finicky, and that's not to dissuade anybody or anything, but it is an iterative process, and it means that you got to keep trying and just see what sticks. My first, I guess, like real game I could say I worked on with a team was in university in my second year. It was a game called Exojanitor. I don't think it's anywhere online, but it's basically, you ever played, oh my gosh, it's like that traffic jam game where you have to like slide the cars around to get the guy out?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so think of it like that, but it's also a 2D platformer, so you're a little robot, and you gotta shoot crates to like move them around, to like platform onto them to exit the levels. It was like a really simple puzzle game, and it wasn't super impressive, but it was certainly the first project that I ever got to working with a team like that, and for lack of a better term, yeah, it was just a complete disaster. We were kind of thrown into it and just kind of expected to go in and try things out, which was a good thing because it was a trial by fire. We had to like learn to swim for ourselves and all that, and we learned really fast how bad we were at like designing levels. Puzzle games are really cool, but they are the hardest thing to design.
Really?
So difficult. Yeah, you got to come up with like the actual concept of a puzzle, and then the puzzle itself, and then not make it too hard or too easy. Like it's unbelievable the like layers of complexity that you have to work with there. And then on top of that, it's a platformer, so you got to worry about movement. And suffice it to say, it was not the best idea for one of my first attempts. But yeah, that was kind of a dumpster fire. I also did a game actually before that in my first year with another smaller team. That one went a little bit better. It was a rhythm platforming game about a saxophone who has to free this like music land that he's a part of from all these evil discordant instruments. And we called it Metronome. It was a lot of fun to work on, but the final product, like making a rhythm game and a rhythm game on top of a platformer, is like unbelievably difficult. And we had like two programmers. One of them was doing art at the same time. But yeah, it was an uphill battle for sure at the beginning. But that's where you learn. That's where you get better at it.
Yeah, so you kind of started when you're first in your first kind of team environments, you started with two of the most difficult types of games to try to go. Fair enough. But then I guess you take the lessons from that. So you went to school for gaming, yeah?
Yeah, I actually just I'm about to graduate from Brock University in Niagara College, Canada, their game dev program.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so tell me a little bit about first, like the decision to go the school route, and then also what you feel as you're kind of reaching the end of the tunnel. What you feel are the biggest things with perspective that you're kind of carrying out of it?
Yeah, so like I said before, in high school, in all honesty, I was kind of aimless. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and there was no kind of path that I felt really fit me. And I was trying out a lot of things, specifically with art, because I knew that I was really good on the computer, and I was really good at making stuff that kind of looked good. So I decided to go into CG, and then from there, I looked into game programs across the province in Ontario. I almost went to the Laurier game program, which is more focused on board games, but at the last minute, I was like, I'm not super into that. I'm not really an analog game type guy.
Right.
I decided to go into Brock and NC, and I looked at it like this. I was like, it's 4 years of school. I get a diploma at the end in game development, and then I get a bachelor's in game design from two institutions. It's like 6 years of school wrapped up into 4. Like the amount of connections I made there, the people that I've met, those are people that I'm gonna be able to talk to and kind of struggle with in the industry for a little bit, for a long time. It was really kind of like a decision on a whim, as I'm sure some people also have when it comes to taking the leap into art and game and being like, I could try this, or maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But I decided to go in and give it my all, and it was an incredibly rewarding experience. And I think that while school isn't the best at giving you like the skills you need to get right into an industry and like get there right away, it does give you the people that you need to talk to and to kind of bounce ideas off of, and in my case get employment from, because a lot of my profs and I worked really well together, and I ended up doing some work with them on their professional game projects, which was just so amazing.
But I frankly, a part of the reason why I invited you today as well is because I come from mostly the acting and performance side, and I know very little about the game dev process. I have a couple of friends kind of involved in it, but it's something I find very, very interesting to hear about, and it seems so intensely team focused. And I'm wondering, as somebody particularly who has had quite a few projects where you've been either a lead artist on it or a lead dev, what would you say the kind of most important thing is when going into those kind of team environments to make sure that everybody feels like they're contributing something, and to make sure that the team works well together, really?
I'm involved on a few projects right now where I'm kind of in some leadership-oriented roles, and other ones where I'm like more just a line artist and on that kind of thing. And the thing that I find works the best is identifying specializations. Everyone has a thing that they really shine in. For me, I love 3D. I love the technical art-oriented aspects of it, of combining the code with the 3D to make super cool stuff. So for me, it's really easy. I do tech art stuff. But for some people, they're like super into 3D modeling, and it's kind of just that, but they're really amazing at making like vehicles, or they're really amazing at sculpting out high quality characters and all that sort of thing. So it's really, for me, when I'm on a team, about doing a skills assessment, being like, okay guys, where do we all feel we have our best skills? Because from that, we get to kind of play off of each other. For example, on my latest project that's out on Steam for free, self-plug, Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter.
Love it.
I served as the lead artist, and right from the get-go, I talked with my 2D art lead, and I said, look, we have to figure out a way to get everyone on this super unified, super together, and excited to contribute with their own specializations. So we did an exercise over a weekend. We made, our studio is called Slugworks, so we made little slugs, little cartoon ones, just to see where we all shine. Some people were really amazing at texturing the models, and some people made the grossest, most realistic slugs I've ever seen, and there were some people who were in the middle between the two of them, but they made really awesome animations with it, or they had some sound design integrated into it, and all these specific little things. It's just kind of finding every piece of the pie that everyone brings to the table, and then kind of assembling and unifying off of that, and on top of that, working with each other based on that, because it's really awesome to say, hey man, you're great at texturing, and I'm great at sculpting characters. Here's my model of this character. Can you bring it to life with a texture? And then, hey, you're an animator. Can you do that? It's kind of the same philosophy that AAA development takes, where you're really focused on specializing on one thing and doing one thing over and over again. On our projects, we try to kind of generalize it a little bit more so you get a little taste of everything, but there's always the one thing you're kind of centered around, and like the one place you're focusing when it comes to the actual production.
I find that also in a lot of performance spaces. It's really kind of, I find the best teams are the ones that allow space for specialization, even in environments where it's like, you're going to want to keep it pretty general so people can experiment and have fun. But definitely, I could totally see that. Now, you dropped a little mention of your most recent game. So just for the viewing audience, the way that I was kind of introduced was at Game Expo 2025, which is a great thing. Make sure to go to it.
Oh yeah,
incredible event, and there is a section of the event dedicated to indie games, and you kind of get to play them and meet some of the devs that worked on them. And I got to play Green Thing from the planet Jupiter. It was incredibly fun. Would you be able to kind of introduce it for everybody and kind of give the, what are the vibes?
Yeah, sure. So think of Tom and Jerry, but instead of a mouse, it's a little green alien with a zapper. So the kind of elevator pitch, Green Thing is a little green alien from Jupiter, and he's crash landed onto Earth, and he needs to repair his spaceship to get out of there because he doesn't want to be on Earth for too long. And the only way to do that is by running into this house in this backyard that he's crashed into and collecting a bunch of household objects like blenders and pieces of duct tape and mustard bottles and all sorts of little things to bring back to his spaceship and repair it. But there is a defender of the household named Cannoli the cat. He is the house cat of Zianina, the owner of the house, and he has to stop Green Thing by swiping at him with his claws and also using traps around the map, like little glue traps to catch Green Thing in, or anvils that he can drop on his head, and all sorts of things. So it's kind of just like the zaniness of Looney Tunes combined with like the asymmetric multiplayer mix of like a game like Dead by Daylight.
Oh my gosh, what a that's a funny combination to think about for sure. And then on this project, you were the lead 3D artist. So kind of take us through a little bit about what that actually means practically on the project.
Sure. So I talked about it a little bit before, but it was really about banding the team together and doing those skills exercises really early on. That was one of the foundational things we were focused on before we even knew that we were doing Green Thing. We just knew that we were all working together, and that was important enough. But from there, I was one of the original people with the guy who created the pitch. His name is Chris. He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing 2D artist, and he came up with the pitch for the game. We really focused on what does this game represent in 3D and 2D, and we had to build out those pipelines so that we could create all those assets and have it feel consistent and professional with the team that we had. So on my end, I worked a lot in the early days with finding reference. That's the most fun part of the job, is like watching a lot of animated stuff, or just doing research if you're doing something realistic, getting a lot of reference and all of that. And we really tried to hone down on a style that combined the cartoons of like Chuck Jones with the kind of animation of 70s and 80s cartoons. And we kind of merged those together. There was a great short from Pixar called Feast that kind of already does that a little bit, so we took a lot of inspiration from that as well. And from there, we really just started away on our hero assets. So for those not super familiar with game development, a hero asset is like a super important thing that's super crucial to an environment. It could be like a centerpiece, or it could be a character, or a specific NPC you interact with, any sort of those things. So I worked with some of my other artists on my team, and we just started developing those straight away. And we said, what works, what doesn't, what do we like, what do we not like? And we found out really early on that there was a lot of stuff that wasn't working, which was a good thing. For one, the colors across the board were really bad in the early days.
Oh, okay.
Just horrible, yeah. And we discovered from a recommendation from one of our 2D artists, Mac. He brought to us this color palette from the early Looney Tunes shorts and said we should just strictly go on these. And I was like, you're 100% right. That makes so much sense. And it was really just about building out those pipelines collaboratively with people and taking in all of the suggestions that everyone had to bring our kind of communal vision to life. So that was the process super early on. And then from there, I was deeply involved in the 3D pipeline production. I am a very technically oriented guy, so I worked with our team to develop a kind of look for the game in 3D, but I also had to facilitate that in Unity. So I ended up building out this entire render pipeline, just specific, like on top of everything that Unity provides for you, all custom stuff, to give our game that like cartoonish feel and have those extra features of like line art in certain places, and giving our characters that extra detail. And yeah, on top of that, it was really just being the guy at the end of the day who said, yeah, this looks great, or this needs a little bit more tweaking. And also just letting people go wild. I find that actually delivers the best results when it comes to indie games specifically, because structure is great and it works really well for a AAA project where you have an art bible and everything needs to look the exact same way, especially for working with a licensor. Oh my god, that's an entirely different thing. But because this was our own original IP, we had a lot of fun with it. We pushed the visuals as much as we could, and we stylized the heck out of it. And it really became a kind of labor of love from everyone, and everyone has such a unique kind of impact on that project and like their own little brush stroke at the end of the day, which is the thing I'm most proud of, is just being able to bring those people together and create something with them.
The choice of which software to go with, and especially as somebody who is so uneducated about this process, could you take me a little bit about how you came to the decision to choose the software that you did on that project, and just in general, like, what is that process like to choose?
It really depends on the environment you're going into when it comes to software. If you're going into, if you're working at like a AAA studio, typically you have your own, the pipelines are already built out for you and they have custom tooling built into sometimes their own standalone game engine, sometimes it's built on top of Unity or Unreal. And then on top of that, there's also the DCCs where you make the models and make the textures and the VFX and all those other little things that kind of get put into the game at the end. So for us, it was really simple. We have two softwares that people in 3D are proficient in, and that's Blender and 3ds Max. So right off the bat, we were like, yep, that's totally fine. We weren't making any custom tools for this because the project was 8 months development cycle, so we didn't really have the time nor really the need to make those things, so it was perfectly fine. Anything that you could make, as long as it could export to a certain file format, you were good. Go for it. So yeah, it's for me on these projects, I come from a background where I hate paying for software. I think locking yourself into an ecosystem, like Autodesk stuff with Maya and 3ds Max, kind of hinders a little bit more than it helps when it comes, especially when you're starting out. I'm a pure Blender artist. I love Blender, and that was kind of what I brought to the forefront of the team. But there are some things that you can't compromise on, like the Substance Suite from Adobe for making the textures. There just isn't another software kind of like it that's as accessible and as production ready for us as we needed. I mean, unless you go with Mari, but that's a lot more complex and a little bit too much for what we needed. And then, yeah, on top of that was our game engine, the thing that actually powers the whole experience. And for us, that came down more to what are the programmers better at working in? Is it Unreal or Unity? Because art is very transferable. Most of the principles remain the same, but programming, it's an entirely different language between the two. And depending on what you go with Unreal too, it could either be fully visuals with like little nodes and lines that connect things together, or fully C++ programming. But they had been taught C# until that point, so that's why we chose Unity at the end of the day. And also because we've done the most projects in Unity, it just made the most sense for us. And yeah, really, it was just about finding the software that augmented our skills the best, fit into our production pipelines the easiest, and kind of enabled people to make awesome art as best as they could. Going
a little bit broader, I've noticed with a lot of your work between Reverex and between Green Thing from Jupiter, there is a lot of stylization. Obviously, very, very, very different types of stylization. But in a game industry that I would say particularly right now on the AAA side is focusing a lot on hyperrealism kind of as a broad principle, a lot of your stuff is on the more stylized side. I'm just curious kind of where does that come from, and what motivates your art direction to be more on that side?
Sure. So when it comes to specifically Reverex and Green Thing, Green Thing kind of just demanded a different art style because it was something inherently cartoony, and I don't think like a super shiny, greasy, gross alien running around the screen would be nearly as entertaining and like fun as a stylized one. But coming back to your question, I take a look at the way that the industry works, and you're right that there is a lot of focus on hyperrealism, and I think it's really cool. I think it's an amazing display of what computers can do and the talent that people can have, but it's also boring. Like, we have access to this technology that can make anything that we can imagine. Why limit it to what we can see and interact with every day? 100%. It's very technically impressive, and I have the utmost respect for developers who work in that, character artists, TDs everywhere. I think it's amazing. But for me, it's really more about how far can I push it in terms of making it look like something else that I've seen and I love. I'm working. I just concluded working on a project with CBC and a couple of other studios that's coming out soon. That was entirely focused on blind characters and how they would interpret the world and see the world. And initially, the direction that I received was just, it's kind of up to you. We got to just figure something out. And I just threw a bunch of stuff at the wall and saw what stuck. And I can't say too much, but at the end of the day, we created something that is super unique and kind of far out from anything else that I've seen, at least in the industry. But yeah, just in how it inspires me and kind of pushes my art direction, I just want to see how far we can push it and how much we can create stuff that looks like what you see in like a Pixar movie, for example, or what you see in a hand-drawn 2D animated short, or like a chalk drawing, like literally anything. The technologies that we have on hand are so amazing, and there's never been a better time to create with it. So why not try to shoot for the stars and kind of think of something entirely different as a way of representing the world? It's just a really fun kind of exercise for me at the beginning of projects, and I just love it, taking it, running with it, and seeing where we can get to.
For sure. And I mean, that I think that kind of jumps pretty naturally to another kind of curiosity that I had, which is there is a lot in what you do, particularly more on the development side when it comes to working with people and facilitating environments. But a lot of course, what you do is very heady, conceptual, creative work. And I'm kind of curious between development side and your own individual creative side. What are some of your favorite parts that are unique to both of those kind of worlds that you have your foot in?
Wow. I mean, for me, when I'm working on a project and it's coming to the art direction of stuff, it's very personal. I take it very personal because if I'm trusted with the reins of something, I really want to do a good, cool job, make something that looks very interesting. But I guess it's really more about how far I can take what I see on my head onto the screen. If anyone who works in visual media of any type knows, the shot that you have in your head is never going to be what comes out of the camera or the game engine or the 3D render, whatever you're going to do, or the drawing. It's never ever going to be exactly that. So for me, it's about seeing how far we can take the tools to bring what's coming out of me into that. Designing things like Green Thing and designing that art direction was a lot of fun to kind of think within the structure of, this is an animated cartoon world in 3D. How do we represent that? And in my head, Green Thing looked a lot different than it does now. But that's also kind of the fun of it, is that as you experiment and try new things with the tools, you also learn what the possibilities are, where the boundaries for those possibilities are, and then creative ways to work inside of those boundaries and evolve it beyond what you see just in your kind of creative mindset. So for me, the design obviously is influenced a lot by what the computer is possible of outputting and what the software is possible with doing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also about what do I think would be cool to see in this type of project, and what do I think would be impressive to see done in one of those types of things.
And something definitely that I think is interesting that I've seen from you as well. I'd love if you could talk a little bit about vocal reality, and you could talk about well, first kind of introduce it, if that's okay, and what that was like for you to work on a project that is so different from a lot of what else you've been doing.
Sure. So Vocal Reality is it's my studio's kind of mainline thing. That's what we started out with, and I was contacted by a selective mutism researcher named Dr. Poling Bork. We've been working together for the past year or so on this project, and it's a virtual reality experience designed to help individuals with selective mutism overcome their fears and anxieties when it comes to speaking with people. I actually had some struggles with like kind of similar conditions when I was younger. I was a very shy kid, and having a tool like that would have really helped me back then. And what Vocal Reality does is it places you in these video environments. They're fully 360. We film them live with 360-degree cameras, and you get to have a conversation with these people in an everyday scenario. So going to a store, going to a restaurant, or being on the bus talking to a bus driver, or driving in the car doing a driving test. All these kind of things that come up in everyday life that are very difficult for people who have selective mutism and other social phobia disorders. And I worked on it pretty much solo. I worked with a programmer for a little bit. His name is Josh. I've also worked with him on Reverex and Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter. He's a super talented guy. And just building that whole thing to be something that isn't necessarily art forward and art heavy, and more relied on the technical skills that I could bring forward as a developer, as well as Josh, and as well as the conceptual design from Dr. Bork, figuring out the ways that we can use game technology in a kind of a more healthcare or therapy setting was a very unique challenge. It was weird because I'm a tech guy. I love tech, and I'm an art guy. I love art, but designing a system to play videos in 360 degrees in virtual reality, and then have it not crash, and work on a MetaQuest headset and then build it out. I was talking to my buddy Chris today about it. It was a nightmare, to tell you the truth, in the first couple of months, because there was so much just to learn about being a developer and a programmer. But it was a very unique challenge, and one that made me kind of fall in love a little bit more with the tech side of things, and kind of gain even a new level of respect for the programmers that I work with. Because on top of being brutally difficult for a first-timer and having to learn all that stuff on the fly, it also gives you a really great perspective on how to design things to be more accessible for people and to be played by more people, and bringing those considerations in that you've never really thought of when it comes to working with just like a 2D screen for a game where you have a mouse and keyboard or a controller. Now it's fully 360, and you have these control wands to wave around and click on stuff with, and there's been so much that it's just been such a learning experience, and it's been such a different experience than anything I've had when it comes to working on games, because it's the same technology but totally different application and totally different set of skills.
Yeah, man, it seems like every time you do the first of something, it's always like the most difficult thing that you've been thrown at, whether it's puzzle games or it's like working with this newer tech. But I find that so interesting. Do you, through working on the project, your answer is probably, of course, going to be yes, but I would love either way to hear kind of your thoughts on the ways in which, as you say, from the tech side, is this the beginning? Would you say this is the beginning of something that could be used for other things people are struggling with, and either from a social or from a personal or whatever kind of side? Do you think that this is something that has growth potential in that way?
I think so. I really do. I am more of the behind-the-scenes guy on the project. I just kind of make it work, and Dr. Bork is more the face of it, because it's her brand and her whole thing. Vocal is her whole image. So being a part of that, yeah, I think it definitely has the potential to grow, especially because, and I don't mean to plug too much, but when you buy a copy,
go ahead.
And when you buy a copy, and if you buy a copy and you are affected with a social phobia kind of disorder, Dr. Bork offers one-on-one consultation services for free as part of that one time, to develop a plan for you to kind of use the app in the best ways possible for you, and to kind of help you grow in terms of using the app. I've had this app being tested by a couple play testers around the globe. They've been amazing, by the way, just doing all sorts of bug tests, first of all, but also functionality, and how does it make you feel, and does it feel too vulnerable or too frightening, or is it giving you the confidence that you need? And we've really found that repeat playthroughs and building your confidence by starting off really simple, by like nodding yes or no at like kind of social junctions and that sort of thing, and moving up to saying yes verbally or no verbally, and then at some point having full conversations with these people who are in the videos, really, really does make a difference for people. And it's been a very rewarding experience to see that kind of help people come out of their shell. We've even had like some really early success stories of like we've had younger kids using the app and they've gone to school and have now started participating in class more, which is amazing. If I had the access to one of these tools when I was a kid and I could start speaking up more in class, believe me, I would have. Now you can't get me to shut up, but
no, it's great.
Then,
that's amazing.
There's
Wow.
there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of potential for the game technology to be used in ways like this, and to facilitate kind of improvement of lives, which is just the most amazing part of working on that for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Okay. One kind of question that I'm hoping to ask, I think most people on the show, I think regardless of what the manifestation of it is, every artist kind of has somewhere on the spectrum between they are obsessed with process. That's where they thrive. Is you know, take or leave the end product, but it's the things that you learn in your experience throughout the process. And there's also plenty of folks who the process for them is total hell, and it's very hard to motivate themselves to get through it, and the product is their motivation. Not to simplify, so feel free to throw the whole scale away if you'd like, but is there anywhere in particular between those two where you find yourself leaning towards during your projects?
Okay, I kind of have different outlooks when it comes to this based on what I'm doing, so I'll give you two answers. For game production, and I do not recommend this to anyone, but when I work on a game, I have to hate it for a very long time, and that's really what keeps me going, and I'll tell you why. The quality of the product and the way that it's enjoyed by people at the end of the day is a very important thing for me, but the process is equally as important to me too, in that if you want a high quality game, you got to have the high quality work to kind of come along with that. So when I'm developing a game, I try my best to not have a very rose tinted outlook of like, this game's going to be amazing by the end of it and it's going to be so great, because when you're building it, I find it to be one of the most destructive things that I can do personally when it comes to a game, because then I start to relax, I get comfortable. Oh yeah, I'll do that later. It's going to be great at the end of the day. Don't worry about it. For me, the first 5 months of production have to be like the most hellish kind of time I have on anything, just so I can get used to giving myself the critiques that I need, and being receptive to feedback and agreeing with people when they say, hey, this might not be the best direction. I go, yeah, you might be right. It's just really important to be in those kind of things. Obviously, at the end of the day, I'm very proud of the work that I produce with people, and I'm very proud of my work, and I absolutely love that I get to do this stuff, but for me, the motivation comes from building the best thing possible, and it's by being in kind of that discomfort area for a while. However, I'm also now working on more personal portfolio stuff to kind of develop my skills more as I'm transitioning into more game development roles, and also because I love 3D and I love working in it, and I haven't had a ton of time to kind of make stuff for myself, if that makes sense. There's a real difference there, and when it comes to working on stuff like that, the focus for me is really on the process and getting the most out of it that I can. I kind of frame that my personal works and projects on learning a new skill, and I did a series of character sculpts in my second year of a bunch of Disney characters, and those skills really translated well into making character models for Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter, but it was all about learning, how do you make a character, how do you make it work in a game engine, how do you rig a character, how do you do this, how do you do that, and iterating on each one with different goals for each little project. So I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword in that the process is more important for those smaller things, but for bigger things, it's about that product and what people are going to play at the end of the day, and being focused on what the user will really experience when they come to it. And will it be fun? Maybe if you take the right steps, but it's kind of hard to do that again if you have that rose-tinted lens at it.
At the very least, also, like, particularly in team settings, you have to kind of go through the pain to get to a product that you feel is a diamond. It's hardened to the point of pressure where it is what you are wanting to kind of get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So Okay, so you mentioned this again, and I'm very excited to bring this up as kind of our second last little question. You mentioned a couple of times Disney is a major kind of source of inspiration particularly for the artistic side. I'm very curious. What is it specifically behind those kind of classic movies, those whatever, the parks? What is it that you are able to draw from that you can kind of make into your own thing and then put out back into your work? What is it that you're drawing from it?
Sure. I mean, when it comes to the movies, it's really just about the writing, the character development, the music, the beauty of the animation, all of those kind of very surface level aesthetic things. That's really what's important to me when it comes to drawing inspiration from those. And on top of that, also, I do some like voice acting work. I'm actually the voice of Green Thing in Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter.
What? That's amazing!
So yeah, that also kind of plays a role into it, and making like characters that have a unique voice and those sort of things, which is a really fun part of my job when I get to do it. But really, the thing that sticks out the most when I'm working on games is actually the parks. The concepts and ways, the invisible ways almost, that a theme park or an immersive experience kind of conveys the experience to you is super, super important. Because if you want to be immersed in like a full-scale realistic thing with all these beautiful sets and designs and like cars that take you through all this like scenery, there has to be things that build that up, like pre-shows and context of narrative and all those sort of things. So when it comes to, for example, working on Green Thing, we have this really amazing 2D animated intro to the game that our animators Chris and Mac worked on that just looks excellent. That was a really important foundational step for me in the development of that project, because it gives you the setup to give you the context of why you're running around in the house and why you're swiping at the green thing and all these little things. And in a similar way, when you go to Disney World and for example you go on the Haunted Mansion, you're in a queue in a graveyard, and it's like sort of setting the tone. It's a little bit spooky. You're not really sure what you're going to get into, and then you go in, and it kind of eases you in more with like segmented pre-shows of like starting to get you into the vibes of the ride, and then getting into a more scary experience, and then eventually going on to that main adventure and experiencing it and going through that whole thing. And then even at the end, coming out of it and being told, in the context of that ride, there's a 999 happy haunts, but we'd love for you to be the 1,000th, is what they always say. And bringing you into that story is also a really important thing too, to be able to take on the roles of characters and imagine yourself in that world. So those kind of like small little things that people don't really think of a lot are really important to me when I'm designing games and media and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's kind of because I was very curious going into this. The link between the gaming side and the inspiration that you get from the physical creativity, but it is that immersion and the art that goes into taking you in at the very beginning, holding you there, and then as you exit the experience, the grace that has to have. That's so interesting. So okay, on that, this is one thing that I am asking every single guest. Little thought exercise. So
sure.
You, in this scenario, you have infinite access to resources, money, whatever, to make or be a part of your own personal dream project. So whether that be one particular project, a series you'd love to do, a video game you'd love to create, anything like that, I'd love to hear, what would that be for you?
Oh man. Well, my real passion is in bringing experiences to people, and I think that for me, there's no better medium than an attraction or an immersive experience like a ride. So we'll start there. If I have all the money,
yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Go big.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, and they're really more like kernels of things that I bring to bigger projects, but I've never really designed out a kind of dream attraction. I will say though, and this guy is a big inspiration of mine from Disney. This little purple dragon here with this guy, it's Dreamfinder and Figment from Epcot. Figment specifically has been a key part of like my own sort of ethos of how I approach imagination and how I approach creativity, because that's his whole thing as a character. And I would probably try to create something that inspires people to be their best, most creative self in a similar vein. That character, these are like some Disney parks like deep cuts that I'm going into here. But,
no, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
But getting to develop something that has the technology of like kind of a trackless dark ride where you could go anywhere and do anything, with the virtual production aspects of like a ride like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway that have these mind-bending transformations of space around you and really advanced projections, on top of just the central theme of being creative and making anything that you can come up with in your own head or in a physical space or anything like that. That's the thing that I think I want people to walk away the most with when it comes to playing my games or just experiencing the stuff that I do. It's about, for me, it's about taking the story of whatever it is and expanding it into your own life and to bring it into your own passions and that sort of thing. So I don't really know exactly what the thing would be, but it would be probably an attraction, and it would be centered around the ideas of creativity with that character, and it would be just a mind-bending, super cool display of illusions and magic tricks and just every cool thing that my mind could conjure up, really, that are just these little like segmented individual things of examples of creativity. Because I think that's the best way to do it. It inspires you to remix it or make your own thing entirely. And that's also in turn what inspires me. So yeah, I think that's the most succinct answer I can give when it comes to that.
Wow, that's excellent. Oh my gosh, Ben. I think that's a really good like jumping off point. I think one last thing I will ask you though, and I want to give this space once again to every single person that I speak to. Give me, just unload as much as you'd like, anything that you'd like the viewers to check out. Absolutely anything. What are some suggestions that you'd throw their way from your end of things, and from anything else that you would want people to see?
Oh, I mean, well, of course, please check out Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter and ReverX DX.
Check it out
on Steam.
Yep.
Yeah, Vocal Reality 2. If you're struggling with social phobia and you need a tool to help you out, that's a great option for Meta Quest headsets. Oh man, I don't even know what to recommend. There's so many just amazing pieces of media out there. I would just say, find what inspires you. Get inspired, whether it's a book, whether it's a movie, a game. Really anything. For me, in terms of gaming, I really knew that I wanted to play games when I played the kind of Valve world of games, Portal, Half-Life, all of those just amazing classics.
You're kidding me.
I love them. I love them.
You're my man. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. That's neither here nor there. Sorry.
Half-Life Alex, if you have a headset, play it. It's amazing. Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty folks, we have reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to take a moment just to thank Ben for joining us on the channel for today. It was incredible not only to see the technical side, get a little peek under the hood kind of thing, but also get an opportunity for him to share his very personal side of what inspires him and his story of how he became the incredible artist that he is today. The link not only to Green Thing from the Planet Jupiter, go play it now, is in the description, but also to Ben Cohen's website. So please check him out. Hire him if you are looking to hire people. And yeah, please have a lovely rest of your day and hope to see you here again soon.
Fuck. I'm fucked. I'm fucked. Fuck.
Holy
Fuck.